In the bustling marketplace of economics, two fundamental forces are constantly interacting: demand and supply. These forces are the heartbeat of any economy, driving the flow of goods and services from producers to consumers and vice versa. These forces, much like two dancers in a beautifully choreographed waltz, determine the prices of goods and services as well as the quantities that are bought and sold. Just as dancers must move in harmony to create a seamless performance, demand and supply must align to create a balanced market. Demand, simply put, is the desire of consumers to purchase a specific good or service at a particular price. It is influenced by various factors such as income levels, tastes and preferences, and the prices of related goods. It reflects how much of something people want and are willing to pay for. When demand for a product is high, consumers are often willing to pay more, driving up the price. Think of it as the consumer's side of the story. Consumers' needs and desires shape the demand curve, which shows the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded. On the other hand, supply represents the willingness of producers to offer a good or service at a given price. Factors such as production costs, technology, and the prices of inputs play a crucial role in determining supply. It embodies the producer's perspective, showcasing how much of a product they are ready to bring to the market. When supply is high, producers are willing to sell more at lower prices, influencing the supply curve. Together, demand and supply interact to determine the market equilibrium, a state where the quantity demanded by consumers precisely matches the quantity supplied by producers. This interaction is dynamic, constantly shifting with changes in market conditions. This equilibrium point reveals the market clearing price, the price at which all goods supplied are purchased. It is the sweet spot where the intentions of buyers and sellers align perfectly, ensuring that the market functions smoothly. The law of demand states that, in general, as the price of a good or service increases, the quantity demanded of that good or service will decrease. Conversely, as the price decreases, the quantity demanded will increase. This inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded makes intuitive sense. Imagine your favorite brand of coffee goes on sale. The lower price would likely entice you to buy more coffee, wouldn't it? Conversely, if the price of coffee suddenly skyrocketed, you might be inclined to cut back on your caffeine fix. This principle holds true for a wide range of goods and services. When concert tickets are expensive, fewer people attend. When airline tickets are cheap, more people travel. This inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded forms the bedrock of the law of demand. Shifting our focus to the other side of the market, supply paints the picture from the producer's perspective. Supply refers to the quantity of a good or service that producers are willing and able to offer for sale at different prices during a specific period. Imagine a farmer who grows apples. If the price of apples is high, the farmer is likely to be motivated to produce and sell more apples, as this would translate to higher profits. Conversely, if the price of apples plummets, the farmer might reduce the quantity of apples produced, or even switch to growing a different crop. This interplay between price and quantity supplied underscores the fundamental principle that producers are driven by profit maximization. Higher prices create incentives for producers to increase supply, while lower prices tend to dampen their enthusiasm. The law of supply states that as the price of a good or service rises, the quantity supplied of that good or service will also increase, all else being equal. This fundamental principle of economics is rooted in the behavior of producers and their response to market conditions. When prices go up, producers are more willing to supply more of the good because they can achieve higher revenues and profits. This is a natural incentive for businesses to increase their output. This positive relationship between price and quantity supplied reflects the producer's incentive to maximize profits. When the potential for higher earnings exists, businesses are motivated to allocate more resources, such as labor and capital, to the production of the good or service. This can involve hiring more workers, investing in new machinery, or expanding facilities to meet the increased demand. Consider the example of a smartphone manufacturer. In a competitive market, the price of smartphones can fluctuate based on consumer demand and technological advancements. If the market price of smartphones rises due to increased demand, the manufacturer is likely to ramp up production to capitalize on the favorable market conditions. This might involve speeding up the assembly line, increasing shifts, or even outsourcing parts of the production to meet the higher demand. This increased production leads to a higher quantity of smartphones supplied in the market. The manufacturer benefits from higher sales volumes and potentially greater market share, reinforcing the positive feedback loop between price and supply. Conversely, if the price of smartphones were to decline, the manufacturer might scale back production to avoid accumulating excess inventory. Lower prices can signal reduced profitability, prompting the business to cut back on production to maintain financial stability. This decrease in production would result in a lower quantity of smartphones supplied. The manufacturer may reduce shifts, lay off temporary workers, or delay new investments in production capacity. The law of supply, therefore, highlights the direct relationship between price and quantity supplied, driven by the producer's pursuit of profit maximization. Understanding this principle is crucial for both businesses and consumers as it influences market dynamics and economic decision-making. Section 5, the Market's Balancing Act, Equilibrium. In the dynamic interplay of demand and supply, the market strives to find a state of balance, a point where the quantity demanded by consumers perfectly aligns with the quantity supplied by producers. This state of harmony is known as market equilibrium. At equilibrium, there is no surplus or shortage of the good or service in question. All consumers who are willing to buy at the prevailing price find sellers willing to sell, and all producers willing to sell at that price find buyers. The price at which this equilibrium is reached is known as the equilibrium price, while the quantity exchanged at this price is referred to as the equilibrium quantity. At this price, the market clears, leaving no unsatisfied buyers or sellers. To visualize the concept of market equilibrium, economists often use graphs that depict the demand and supply curves. The demand curve, as we've established, slopes downwards, reflecting the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Conversely, the supply curve slopes upwards, illustrating the positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. The point at which these two curves intersect represents the market equilibrium. At this intersection, the quantity demanded by consumers precisely matches the quantity supplied by producers. This point on the graph corresponds to the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. Market equilibrium, however, is not a static concept. It is a dynamic state that is constantly evolving due to a myriad of factors. These factors can cause shifts in both the demand and supply curves, leading to changes in the equilibrium price and quantity. Understanding these shifts is crucial for anyone involved in the market, from policymakers to business owners and consumers. It is constantly being influenced by various factors that can shift the demand and supply curves, leading to changes in the equilibrium price and quantity. For instance, a sudden increase in consumer income can boost the demand for certain goods, while a technological breakthrough can enhance production efficiency, affecting supply. Factors that can shift the demand curve include changes in consumer income, tastes and preferences, prices of related goods, and expectations about future prices. For example, if consumers expect prices to rise in the future, they might increase their current demand, shifting the demand curve to the right, and expectations about future prices. Additionally, changes in the prices of substitutes or complementary goods can also impact demand. For instance, a rise in the price of coffee might increase the demand for tea, a substitute good. For example, an increase in consumer income might lead to an increase in demand for luxury goods, shifting the demand curve to the right. Similarly, a change in consumer preferences, such as a growing trend towards eco-friendly products, can also shift the demand curve. On the supply side, factors such as changes in production costs, technology, the number of sellers in the market, and government policies can cause shifts in the supply curve. For instance, a decrease in the cost of raw materials can increase supply. The number of sellers in the market and government policies can cause shifts in the supply curve. An increase in the number of sellers typically increases market supply, shifting the supply curve to the right, and government policies can cause shifts in the supply curve. Government interventions such as subsidies or taxes can also significantly impact supply. For example, a subsidy for renewable energy can increase the supply of solar panels. A technological advancement that lowers production costs, for instance, could lead to an increase in supply, shifting the supply curve to the right. This can result in lower prices for consumers and increased market competition. When these shifts occur, the market equilibrium adjusts accordingly, establishing a new equilibrium price and quantity that reflect the changed market conditions. This continuous adjustment process is what keeps markets dynamic and responsive to both internal and external influences. The concepts of demand, supply, and equilibrium are not merely abstract economic theories. They have real-world applications and can help us understand a wide range of economic phenomena. For instance, these concepts can explain why the price of petrol tends to rise during periods of high demand, such as summer holidays, or why the price of certain fruits and vegetables fluctuates depending on the season and harvest yields. Understanding these concepts can also shed light on the effects of government policies such as taxes or subsidies on market outcomes. By analyzing how such policies influence demand or supply, we can better predict their impact on prices and quantities. Mastering the concepts of demand, supply, and equilibrium equips individuals with a fundamental understanding of how markets function. This knowledge is crucial for making informed decisions as consumers, producers, and citizens. By grasping these principles, we can better analyze market trends, predict the impact of economic events, and evaluate the effectiveness of government policies. In essence, understanding these concepts empowers us with economic intuition, a valuable tool for navigating the complexities of the modern world.